I do not believe there's going to be a big swing, and I do think Trump hurt himself with what he did at the NABJ.
At the Black Journalist Conference, when he questioned whether she was Indian or black or whatever that was.
I think that was stupid and cheap.
Why do you think that?
Because it was stupid and cheap. That's why. It played to a fundamental ignorance that we have to be better than here, okay? Everybody knows that you can be of mixed race. Everybody knows this, even from ethnic identity. When people are Irish and Italian, right? They'll talk about that, about how, oh, that's my Irish side. That's why I like this. And oh, my Italian side. That's why
Oh, my God, Chris.
Look.
Okay, let's play the clip, and then go ahead, Rob. Play the clip. This is what Chris is talking
supporters,
about.
including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir,
of
I'm
that.
asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
It. Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way.
You're saying she's not playing identity politics?
No, that's not what I said. I said that she's biracial. She has always been biracial. He does not know her. I don't even know why he pronounces the word black that way. Black. Like, what is it? Is he having a hard time saying it, or is it an affliction? It was stupid and unnecessary. And he got himself in a lot of trouble, and justifiably so.
See, this is the part that I think, you know, folks on your side who...
I don't have a side.
The side is the TDS side, that you just don't like this guy, right? Folks from that side...
So I can't dislike somebody and not have a sickness?
No, but hear me out. For me, let me flip it on you. You know why RFK was attractive to me? And some people at one point are like, on the Trump side, you know, I can't believe you keep talking all these good things about RFK and da-da-da-da-da. What side are you on? I'm like, I'm on the side of the guy that's willing to go and talk to anybody and everybody. That's why I criticize DeSantis. I moved to his state because of him. I'm in Florida because of him. And I criticize him so much that everybody eventually is like, well, you know, DeSantis dropped this campaign because of you. So, you know how many times do you know how many places I go to and they're like, you know what? You're the reason DeSantis. Well, you didn't have to ask him that question. I said, I was asking him the question for him to have some levity and show the fact that he has sense of humor. Just the same way when Fallon asked Trump, is that hair real or not? He played with it, says, listen, here's the only thing. I'll let you play with it, but if the people in Rhode Island, when I'm going to this fundraiser, see my hair's messed up, they have to know it's messed up because Jimmy Fallon messed it up. Boom, he won people over. And DeSantis couldn't do that. So for me,
I agree with that.
The fact that Trump has the brass to go to this event, do you think Kamala would ever go to Turning Point USA?
No.
Do you think Kamala would ever have the brass?
But she should.
But do you think she has the brass to sit across the table from a Charlie Kirk asking those questions?
No.
What are the chances of that
But
happening?
I don't think Charlie Kirk is the equivalent of NABJ, by the way.
Give me the equivalent of NABJ.
I guess you'd go to CPAC.
Okay. Do you think she'll go to CPAC?
Even though it's not a journalist organization.
Do you think she would go to CPAC? Never.
No.
She wouldn't go. To me,
hell no.
If you're afraid of sitting down with a Turning Point USA or a CPAC or any of that stuff, I don't want you negotiating on behalf of me.
I'm fine with
Putin,
that.
with all the other guys.
I'm fine with that. It's not just that he went. It's what did he do when he went there? And by the way, it wasn't even the right answer to the question. Here's what he should have said. You shouldn't be asking me this question about whether or not all she is a diversity hire. You should be asking, you should be asking Joe Biden. Right. Because Biden saddled her with this.
Yep.
He said, I'm picking a woman.
Yep.
And what he should have done,
a woman of color.
Well, then later it became that, right? He said that about Supreme Court justice, which is, again, wrong.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have done it that way. At least he was being transparent about it. He should have picked Harris if that's who they wanted to pick, and then said, I'm picking her for this reason, this reason, this reason, and it matters that it's a black woman. It matters to me. That would have been proper and just, and you wouldn't have saddled her with just being race and gender. So that's the answer that Trump should have given. But instead, he pivoted to what he thought would be more helpful to him and hurtful to her, which is otherizing her. And I think it just made him seem really out of touch, because if you don't know that being biracial is a thing, then I don't know who you're catering to. So, yeah, it's good that he showed up. It also showed who he is.
I actually agree with Trump for the most part, and I sort of agree with you, and I'll tell you why. She was a DEI hire, period, full stop. When Joe Biden announced who his running mate is going to be, he said, I'm picking a woman of color. I actually literally think he said a black woman. Where I think Trump messed up.
Rob should look it up.
What did he find that? Yes. But hold on, let me ask this question. But where I think he messed up was getting in the weeds on, is she black? Is she Indian? Is she black? No one cares about that. They care about the fact that she's actually unqualified. That she was anointed the presidential nominee. She wasn't there. And this was also a month ago when he didn't really know how to attack her. I actually think he's doing a good job of calling her Comrade Kamala. And you even talked about how he took some shots at her economic policies, and the borders are a thing. It's undeniable. So the point is, I think you got to get away from the identity politics things, the black, the Indian, nobody cares. She's unqualified. The border's a mess. Her economic policy is a nothing burger. That's where he needs to go. How do you think Trump should attack Kamala Harris?
Look, what I want to see him do will not be the best way for him to win the election, okay? Because what wins the election in our current environment, especially in a grievance election, is here's why she's worse. Here's why you should be afraid of her. Here are her deficiencies. I believe that may help him win the election, but we all lose. If you can get to a place where it is a battle of who's going to be better for you, not because this person is going to destroy democracy or take away gender, but because I actually believe that this tax cut can be done, that they're going to offset it in a way where it doesn't balloon debt, and that's going to be cool for me. It's going to be put money in my pocket. I like these ideas. I want to flip it where, you know what? I don't really like him, but that's going to be better for me. If we can get to that, that would be awesome. But it doesn't work as well, Adam. It just doesn't. When you do ad buys, okay, I've been in the room when you're doing the ad buy. The ratio is at least 5-2 negative to positive proposition ads. Positive proposition is Ellsworth and Sosnick are for you and for your families, and we're going to give this. That's a positive proposition ad. 5-2 is, if you vote for the other side, watch your dog die in its sleep. That's what works. So, do I think Trump should be playing with her race? Hell no. I think it's offensive and unnecessary. What he should be saying is, Biden said that about her. Don't say it's on me to call her DEI hire. He did it. And let me tell you something. She better be saying why she let the border become a sponge for illegal entry. That's, to me, what I would want to hear. But I don't think we're going to get there because it doesn't work as well.
Let me read a couple things here, okay? Kamala Harris is about to give the first interview, right? Her and Waltz. And, you know, her campaign, they're saying, well, you know, the only people that claim that they're worried about, you know, her doing interviews or not, or only press and insiders,
they're
right?
Wrong.
The rest of the people, nobody else gives a shit. However, what's weird about this entire story is what New York Times keeps doing. Joy is not a strategy. All this stuff. And the next thing you know, this other story comes out. New York Times turns on Kamala Harris and slams her as phony. The New York Times criticized Kamala Harris, describing her as weak and phony, with Patrick Healy stating Harris can't coast on Joy, and Rich Lowry accusing her of failing to secure the border or address inflation while showing more concern for the party lines and economic reality for working Americans. Media outlets have shifted from praising Harris to expressing serious concerns. With the Wall Street Journal, Tom, I'm going to come to you here. James Freeman noting she deserves more than her share of the blame for providing the crucial tie-breaking Senate votes for spreading schemes that fueled inflation, and The Hill's Derek Hunter calling her an empty pantsuit basking in the glow of positive media coverage and unburdened by accountability. Tom, what's going on with New York Times and Kamala?
There's a couple things going on with the New York Times. Below the surface, we know about the family, we know about the ownership, and Harris's position on Israel, and I don't want to dive into this, doesn't help her. But also, there are islands, as they say, there's rocks in the creek. You know, you step on the rocks to cross the creek, and there's rocks in the creek with all of these organizations where you do have moderate reporters. Not a lot of them, and they may be the island in the stream, but they're reaching out and saying, time out. If you're not going to sit down and have what they call an adversarial interview so we can have a real inspection, and we'll put all 12 minutes up to be viewed, then what are we doing here? If you can't articulate your position to me, then what are we doing here? The other part of it is you have to remember, these outlets are in it for profit. They need articles that people read so they can sell ads. There is a economic side to this as well. And whether it's a hit piece or it's we have the first exclusive interview, we have the exclusive comments about, what she's going to do for, the daycare for people. It says it's coming out. But I think the New York Times standing front and center and saying, listen, this is kind of phony. It's been, are we at 40 days? Is today 40th day? It was 39th yesterday. Today's the 40th day that she hasn't had a legitimate sit-down interview. I think we're up to 40. And she stumbled into a classroom and started talking about teamwork, which looked horrible. She had isolated by one reporter a couple days ago, tried to ask her one thing, and she answered it in terms of Selma and an anniversary of civil rights and Martin Luther King. And it's like, what are you doing? So it's clear why they don't want her out there. But when the New York Times comes out forward like this and they have a reporter doing it, I look at that and I say, good for the New York Times. You should be calling it out.
Well, let me ask this question, though. And Chris, you're in the space, so maybe, see what position you will take. New York Times is owned by who? Can you pull up who owns New York Times, Rob? Pull up who owns New York Times. The Shah of Iran was very critical of the media of Iran, saying who's the owner of it. Zoom in a little bit. Just type in who owns New York Times. That's all you got to do.
Come on, Rob.
Who owns New York Times? Okay.
It's the family.
Arthur
Sulzberger.
Third generation of Sulzbergers.
Sulzberger is from Israel, right? So you have an organization that they've owned New York Times for a while. So Tom, and Chris, maybe this is a position for you as well. Do you think Kamala, deep down inside, is a person who would be pro-Israel defending themselves, or do you think she's more pro-Palestine? And whatever your answer is to that, do you think that has any impact on New York Times not supporting her?
I don't know the answer. I think that her position on what's happening in the Middle East is probably going to be too nuanced for both sides. I believe it had something to do with not picking Shapiro. I could be wrong. A lot of Democrats tell me I'm wrong. But the idea that she met Shapiro and they didn't get along doesn't make sense. They knew each other. So that doesn't work for me. Why Shapiro wasn't seen as safe a choice as Walz, right? Because that was the word. Walz was a safe choice. Why wasn't Shapiro a safe choice? They need Pennsylvania a lot more than anybody even knows what state Walz is governor of. So Minnesota. But
even Reagan lost Minnesota.
Right. Well, only Minnesota. Walter Mondale. But I think that position is a problem for her with a lot of voters. I think it's a problem within the party because everybody who is what you call pro-Palestinian, which is not I don't define the position that way, but if you do, they're almost exclusively Democrats. So she's got to deal with that. Is that affecting the Times coverage? I don't know. I think it's easy to criticize the Times. I think it's easy to criticize the Harris campaign. Not doing interviews. Of course, I want her to do an interview every 10 minutes. Have they waited too long? Here's the truth. No. And here's why. This is what they're being told. This is the way the political team is seeing it. And I know this as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
The trend is your friend. The numbers are moving the right way. We do nothing to inject risk. that means that they think Harris is going to screw up the interview? No. They mean we don't need to do it right now. Yeah, but Trump does all these things. He's a different animal. He has a different strategy, and he is bulletproof. There is nothing he can say that's going to hurt his base. They will not move away from him. It doesn't matter. Even that ugly stuff that he said the other day with the thing he reposted on Truth with Hillary Clinton and Harris and the ugly sex act reference that he made. It won't hurt him. It would kill anybody else.
Harris and Clinton hooked
It was
up?
like Harris.
Is that what you're saying? I didn't know that.
No.
Is that true?
No, that is not true. But anyway, the point is this.
Rob, can you go to Snopes and search, have Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton hooked up? I didn't know that.
When she does this interview, the mistake that's being made, look, I know Dana Bash is the real deal. And while I'm jealous she got the interview, I cannot criticize who got the interview. But they should have done it live. And they should do it live, and they should just have it out there.
I just saw it. He posted that.
Yeah.
He didn't post that.
He reposted it, or whatever you call it.
Retruthed.
Retruth, what is it called? How funny how impacted both of their careers differently.
Now, to me, that disqualifies you from being my leader.
That's the thing that disqualified you?
No.
Of all
Listen,
the things Trump did?
There's a huge list of them, but I'm just saying I want the best of us, okay? I guarantee you, if Patrick were running any kind of thing that we were a part of, he doesn't do that. Why? Because he's thinking about how it reflects on the organization.
1,000,000%.
Trump should be the same way. He isn't, and I don't like it. But when she does this interview, it will absolutely not satisfy anybody, okay? And they know that. So doing an interview was never going to be satisfying. What she needs to do, and they should be pushing for, and I think this is fair, do what Trump does. When he has his rallies, have your rallies. Take questions at every rally. Take questions at every rally and make your case. She needs to. There are members of her own party who came up to me at the DNC, elected leaders, ones you know, who were giving me different answers about what she's going to do with Iran, about what she's going to do with SALT, state and local taxes, with some of the big blue states that Trump punished. They were giving different answers, not because they were trying to con me. They don't know the position. So she has to do much more. She has to do better. You haven't done an interview is a little bit of a boogeyman, even though I'm in the media, and I'd love for her to do a lot of interviews. Trump hasn't come on News Nation. Harris hasn't come on News Nation. Why? Because, yes, he does a lot more and he goes more places, but he's selective also. He wants him to be patting him on the back.
I think he.
No, it's not about selecting.
I don't.
Why hasn't he done News Nation?
Because you and him had a few.
Not me. He doesn't have to be me.
To who?
You've got Leland Vittert. You've got Dan Abrams. You've got Elizabeth Vargas. You've got a whole host of people.
There's a part of him as well that you're talking about RFK not giving up the job until the last week of October to negotiate that whole thing. Mm-hmm. You know what this guy wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. Okay, he knows if he comes to News Nation how much sudden overnight limelight and acceleration and growth he's going to give News Nation. He's very aware of that. He's going to use his leverage to get everything from you guys before he comes to you. What are you going to offer to him if he comes to News Nation? It has to be a legit
independent voters.
I think if knowing Trump the way he is, he'll go to anybody.
Independent voters.
There's got to be more than that. What else are you going to provide him? What terms is it going to be? What's going to happen? That's Trump.
Listen, see, here's the nice thing about me. And again, it doesn't have to be me, okay? I never asked to moderate debates. I wouldn't want me moderating a debate. And I don't like the format for me. I think debates should have no moderators. Anyway, here's what I would do. If it were me, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'll give you the whole hour of the show. We'll talk only about what you want to talk about, okay? And we'll take no breaks. I'll talk to you for a whole hour. The conversation goes wherever you want. I don't need to dictate or direct the conversation. What do you think matters right now? What do you want people to know? Here's what I want them to know. And then I'll start the conversation from there. And we'll go at it. And I'll tell you what, I would guarantee you $100,000 every time I say something that you deem insulting of you.
He doesn't need that $100,000. He's doing fundraisers.
He'll take it. By the way, the guy's not known for shying away from money.
He's doing fundraisers with 13 people, 25 people.
I'm not saying I would pay Trump. I'm saying you need independent voters. They're going to decide the election.
Bro, that's what you call, like my sons use the word reach. That's when you know you're reaching. Because you're trying to say that Trump's not going on all outlets.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm saying he didn't come on News Nation.
For example,
she hasn't come on News Nation.
Us doing an interview with Trump, right? Hasn't happened yet, or what do you call it?
Should.
Okay, hasn't happened yet.
Should.
There's two guys in this camp that they have a problem with an article that was written from our end, and there's a feud between that part. Whether he does or not, and we never do anything. And whether or not some guys blame one guy with Rogan, I still think the Rogan podcast interview between him and Trump's going to happen the 4th week of October to the 1st week of November. I think it's going to be dropping somewhere between the 25th to November 3rd. I think the interview with Rogan and Trump will happen at that time. And I think it'll be a shift. And I think the closer it is to October 31st, November 1st, November 2nd, November 3rd, the better it's going to do and the more influence it's going to have. I think it'll be explosive when he does that. But guess what? For me, I don't care if we ever do anything. Like the thing with DeSantis for me was, I don't care if DeSantis ever came here. Go everywhere else. I don't care if my life is not predicated based on me doing an interview with President Trump or any of this. Would I love to do an interview with Putin? Absolutely. Would I love to do an interview with Ahmadinejad from Iran, seeing what the hell is going on in Iran? Absolutely. Would I love to sit down and talk to Trump? Would I love to sit down and talk to Maduro? Would I love to sit down and talk to all these guys? Yes. But it's not predicated on
That's
that.
a bad group you just put him in.
It's not. No, it's not about them. No, for me, it's world leaders.
I know, but there are a lot of other world leaders that you didn't pick.
Who do you want? Justin Trudeau? He would never do anything. The guy doesn't have the brass to sit down with anybody.
Just picked a bunch of
Would I
bad
love
dudes.
to sit down with Trudeau? Yes. Would I love to sit down with, Jimmy Carter's number one on my list. Most people don't even know this. Carter's. But the point I'm making to you,
I wish you were able to do one.
The point with me is, this guy is the face of somebody that's willing to go and sit down with everybody. But let me go back to the question.
I agree. That's why I don't like he hasn't come to News Nation. But I agree with you. He is way more accessible.
He's in that area. You got to respect the fact.
I am giving
Rob,
it to you.
Do me a favor, Rob. Let's go to this next story. And by the way, a part of it for me that I think is a fair question to ask is the following. Okay, is if New York Times and a media gets criticized on who owns them, okay? Mm-hmm. This is a topic that's come up a lot more. I come from a place of Iran where the Shah was very critical of the media in the U.S., the fact that it was controlled a lot by Jews, not Israel. He says, I don't even think this is good for Israel, that it's controlled this way. And this is when the Middle East was the most at peace, is when the Shah was there and they were powerful. And there was no wars. There was no 500,000 people that died in the 80s between Iraq and Iran. When Shah was there, there was no wars and bullying going on. They knew he had one of the strongest militaries, and they didn't want to mess with him. However, the only question to be asking is the position of becoming a president going up, is it that powerful that a Kamala has to be seen favorably because of the media's control by so many folks on the Jewish side, on the media side, that if there's any thoughts there, it's going to be that first before politics? That is a fair question that a lot of people are asking, where New York Times maybe doesn't feel comfortable yet that you don't pick Shapiro. Why wouldn't you pick Shapiro? Why wouldn't you go after him? This is going to play a very important role where the New York Times is going to get over it fairly quickly, because they're going to be like, look, as much as we can't stand Kamala Harris and she's not our candidate, we cannot stand Trump. So guess what? We all got to get in line and support Kamala at all costs. That's what's good. This is a case study for me. The 2024 case study for me is to really find out the amount of power the people who own media companies have, that they can cause a person like Kamala to say, wait a minute, I screwed up. You shouldn't have done that. You lose your out. I don't know, but we're going to find out.
I don't know that it works that way. I also think we have to rethink the trope that Jews control the media, because if they control the media, why are they getting their ass kicked on the narrative in this country the way they are? I have never seen deference to a terror organization like what we see in our coverage with Hamas. I have never seen Americans take the side of a terror organization as we see with Hamas. If the Jews are in control of the media, I don't understand why Israel is in such a dogfight for fairness in the reporting. They call it a genocide, what's going on there on a regular basis. By what definition would you ever call it that? So if the Jews control it, there must be a lot of self-hating Jews because the narrative has not been overweighted in favor of Israel. And what I say to people very often when they're saying, yeah, but look at it. If Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the proxies for Iran had done to us what they did on October 7th, what do you think Gaza would look like today? Land would be cheap, brother, because it would be razed if they did that to us. 9/11, we went into the wrong country and killed hundreds of thousands of people for years. So the idea that we've never seen anybody do what Israel's doing here is demonstrably false. The idea that they're controlling the narrative because they control the media is demonstrably false. What Harris's position on it, you are right to put a question mark next to it. How much it affects the election, I think it loses to immigration and our economy.
Yeah, again, for me, it's purely case study side to see how the reaction is going to be, because when you follow the story, Rob.
But I think it affected the Shapiro thing. Everybody tells me I'm wrong. It had nothing to do with it. I think he was told, you got to back off on that. You got to back off a little bit on that, where you are. And I think that's unacceptable to him. And
do you think she really picked the VP, or do you think somebody else picked the VP? You think she has that kind of power to pick the VP?
Oh, yeah.
You think she has that kind of power to pick the VP?
Absolutely. You got to have the good fit. Now, I'll tell you what. I think she had more hand in who to pick than Biden did in picking her. I think that picking Harris was a big give to Obama. And Biden needed it because this idea that they're buddies and bros is a very strained reality.
Did you see this, Tom, this morning? New candidates, outsiders are wanting to. Can you come in this late? 2 candidates are running for office this late? I don't know if that's even Rob, this is what story is talking about this? What channel is this?
Let me pull it up. Hang on one second.
Why would New York Post and New York Times talk about these 2 candidates? Can you pull up the campaign on what their slogan is? Pull up their campaign on what their slogan is. Here we go. The latest campaign. Zoom in, Rob. Zoom in. Ellsworth Sosnick 2024. Shut up, you little. It's their slogan.
Well played, guys. Well played.
Rob, can you do me a favor and play the clip for people to know where this is coming from? By the way, can you have ever seen this?
If that shirt exists and I don't get one in an extra medium before I leave, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Guys, that shirt is here.
I'm wearing it. I'm wearing it. You give it to me. I'm wearing it right now.
You got to be kidding.
This guy's getting naked on camera right here. What is happening right now? Ladies, don't look. Look away. You're not going to.
Rob, go to my Twitter account. It should be on there right there if you just go on my Twitter.
This is good.
This finally something I can get behind.
That's what you got to turn a little bit.
Ellsworth Sosnick.
Shut up, you little bitch.
This
just what my mother used to tell me.
Have you seen this clip on what happened or no on the podcast? Is this it, Rob?
We're doing this now?
Oh my God, we have to show. So on the podcast, this is a couple weeks ago. Adam and Tom are going at it. And next thing you know, okay, Tom, Rob, it's right there. If you just go on my account, you should be able to see it. I retweeted it.
Oh, okay.
I'm texting it to you as well. It's not hard to find. I think it's 6 down. If you keep going, 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 you keep going. It's about to come up. Go one more right there. Okay. This is why the campaign started, folks. And you guys go ahead and play this clip. This is just a very special moment between the 2 candidates, the president and the VP. Go ahead.
More balanced. Oh, I read.
Tom, what's your point, dude?
I went into
what are you doing here?
You're trying so hard, you little bitch. You know, it's like, it's like, what's going on? What you have,
Tom, you're the smartest guy in the room. You're rambling on and on and on.
Almost killed Vinny. Almost killed Vinny.
That's why he's not here today. Tom, no shit. Give us what's your point?
Textbooks, baby. So
you can pause it right there. So for those of you that support the Ellsworth and the Sosnick ticket, and you like their slogan, this will be limited merch. We will never sell this again, guys. I'm telling you right now. If you want to go get that gear, 2024, that's the merch right there. It'll sell out. We don't have a big amount of shirts. This is less than 500 shirts that you can go order. So once you order, it's out. It'll be limited edition. People won't see it. But we also have this one, which I freaking love. You'll see me sporting this one here. It's the Future Looks Bright 2024
There you
I can get
go.
behind this
campaign
one.
shirt and the red one. Pick and choose either one of those. You can go on vtmerch.com to place the order, but this is a special one. All right, sounds good.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.